now joined by Nader Hashemi. He's an associate professor of Middle East politics over at Georgetown University. Nader, good to have you back on the show. When the news first emerged of this multinational task force being envisioned to be formed, the first question is who is going to be who's going to be joining? And when you look at the countries that have committed, what is obviously missing is the United States' traditional allies, besides Israel, obviously, the Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt.
Yeah, well, those countries are facing difficult times now because of their close alliance with the United States and their increasingly close alliance and relationship with Israel, which all of your viewers know is now committing horrific war crimes in the Gaza Strip. So because these U.S. allies are all autocratic regimes, dictatorial regimes, repressive regimes, they suffer from a crisis of legitimacy within their own societies. Their populations are outraged over what's happening in Gaza. They're outraged over the repressive economic and political conditions that they have to live under. And they're very unhappy with the ruling elites who have been dominating their lives for several decades. So this is not an opportune time for these dictators who suffer from crises of legitimacy to join an American-led naval effort that will be perceived by people in the region as supporting Israel and supporting Israel's biggest backer, the United States. I think that's the primary reason why many of these Arab allies of the United States have been reluctant to sign up to this endeavor.
Nader, tell me this. When you sort of look at U.S. foreign policy ever since the Trump administration, what we're seeing is it retracting from many regional conflicts across the Middle East and Afghanistan, just to name a few. With the U.S. coming out and forming this multinational maritime task force, and what we've been hearing from the Houthis, does the U.S. really want to sort of, poke the proverbial bear? I mean, is it in its best interest?
Oh, no, you raise a really good point. I mean, it was the policy of both the former Trump administration and the Biden administration to reduce the American footprint in the Middle East, to not get involved, to pull out of the region, to focus on bigger global challenges such as China, Russia, Ukraine. But because of the complete failure of American Middle East policy in the region, specifically with respect to the Palestinians, the United States is now paying the price for its failed policy, and it's now being forced to come back into the region militarily, not only in terms of supporting Israel, sending aircraft carriers into the Mediterranean, but now as a direct result of the horrific situation in Gaza, we're now seeing the predictable spillover effects where the Houthis have now gotten involved, ostensibly to support the Palestinians, blocking international trade routes and potentially affecting the global economic recovery that is just starting to pick up after the COVID-19 pandemic, in order to facilitate these trade routes and to keep the global economy from going into a recession. The United States has been forced to, for all of the reasons that I just mentioned, organize this military expedition into the region, because if it doesn't, you're going to see skyrocketing oil prices. You're going to see skyrocketing rates for consumer goods. There's an election year in the United States. Biden doesn't want to have the economy, move in the wrong direction. So I think we're seeing, just to sort of drive home the point, we are seeing the predictable consequences of the failure of American foreign policy. And this is a bipartisan failure. Yeah. Both Republicans and Democrats have to own this.
It's a really good point that you make in terms of potentially affecting the post-pandemic economic recovery. I'm just looking at a map of the region right now. When you look at Mandab al-Bab, Eritrea, Ethiopia, potential conflict there. Somalia, not very safe. Yemen, obviously, still very much dealing with its own problems. This really has the potential to spill over into a much wider regional conflict, much bigger than what's going on between Hamas and Gaza, and even if you sort of put Iran into this equation as well.
Correct, because if you listen to the statements coming out of the American government, the Houthis are perceived as simply being, puppets of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I think that's a gross exaggeration. Obviously, Iran supports the Houthis, and obviously Iran, I think, is happy by these developments because it's putting pressure on the United States and its allies in the region. But there is the potential here for a wider war, because if there's a shooting conflict between this, this naval armada that the United States is organizing and the Houthi rebels, then that has the potential of dragging Iran into the equation. That has the potential of widening the war that we're seeing in the Middle East. So this could spin very quickly out of control in the middle of a American presidential election with catastrophic consequences for everyone concerned.
Okay. Nader Hashemi, thank you very much for joining us on the NewsHour. Always appreciate it. Thank you.